How is the Dream SMP going to end? Okay, let me preface this before we start. I know there's way too many of these types of videos which are completely clickbait because no one knows more about how the Dream SMP will end than any other viewer of the SMP. In fact, I made a video making fun of these types of videos, link in the top right, but it's literally a 1 second long post, so I'll just make it clear. This is all a theory working off tidbits of info we've been given. If this isn't what you came here for, you should still watch the video anyway, because I want watch time. But please do consider subscribing. It's completely free. If you change your mind, you can unsubscribe later, and it helps me out a lot. This video contains spoilers for almost every part of the SMP up to this point. If you want to click off, this is your last chance, but I really hope you enjoy the video. Before we get into how the Dream SMP will end, I think it's important to talk about when the Dream SMP will end. We have no way of having a definitive answer, but I feel there's two places that would make sense. The first place I feel it could end is when the Caves and Cliffs update comes out this summer. The second place the SMP could end is when Dream loses all of his canon lives. Dream owns the server and has been around from the beginning, and I feel whenever he canonically dies is when the SMP ends. I think that this possibility is very likely, even likely enough that Dream's canonical death may be sped up to have the SMP end before the Caves and Cliffs update. Now, there's always the possibility that the plot arcs of the server continue after the end of the SMP. You could even argue that a Dream SMP 2 might come out right as Caves and Cliffs releases. Or even say Dream does die, but the server continues. The plot could technically continue on its own, but I feel the last thing the Dream SMP should be known for is drawing out the plot for too long. This is something which I've been really worried about for a while. At the beginning of the SMP actually having a plot, you would be completely caught up just by watching Tommy or Wilbur's videos on YouTube, and if you were really invested, you might have been keeping an eye on the streams for extra clarity, or to see things sooner. It's now almost impossible to keep up with the current plot arcs without also watching every other stream of Ranboo's which aren't uploaded in any professional edited capacity to YouTube, as well as Sam's streams, Techno's streams, Tommy's streams since he stopped uploading SMP content, a decent amount of Phil's streams, and the Tales of the SMP, which is basically a full-blown spin-off at this point. With the Dream SMP becoming less and less accessible, I feel ending the plot while there's still a dedicated fan base would likely be best for the sake of having a satisfying conclusion and not losing mainstream YouTube and Twitch viewers' attention. You'll see the same thing, which I think is happening to the Dream SMP, happen time and time again. But a really good example is Marvel movies. It's really easy to expect general audiences to watch 1 or 2 movies a year, and if they really like the movies, they can check out some extra watching that isn't required, like TV shows. But when you wrap up the big plot arc people are invested in, like Thanos or L'Manberg and Dream, you're automatically going to lose some viewers who are less invested. But then when you add more required watching in, that's going to make it a bit less accessible even to people invested in the story. I myself have had a really hard time keeping up with SMP content, mostly because I have school when most of the Dream SMP is streaming and no YouTube videos are really being uploaded. The SMP is almost entirely Twitch-based now, and I don't exactly have time to watch 5-hour VODs while also making my own videos and trying very poorly to maintain a social life. And I don't want you to just take this as me senselessly bashing the Dream SMP. I have more respect for the creators on there than I can explain, and I've been watching some of them for years. This is by no means hate towards them, but rather analysis and critical comparison to explain how I think this affects the future of the Dream SMP. So while the Dream SMP could be dragged on for even another year, if I were in any of the writers' shoes, I would probably stop while they're ahead. And a good place for that, in my opinion, would be before the Caves and Cliffs update, but after Dream's canonical death. Now that I've put out my theory for when the Dream SMP will end, it's about time we get to how the Dream SMP will end. The SMP has gone through about 2 main characters by now. Originally Tommy, and eventually it started shifting over to Ranboo. I feel it's fair to say with the span of a season being about 2 months each, and Caves and Cliffs coming out in the summer, another 2 or 3 seasons are likely. Not counting season 3 because it hasn't really started yet. But since season 3's kind of started, I'm sure we can all agree that it's all about egg. I also feel comfortable saying it's likely Dream will either break out of prison and be central to the egg plot, or breaking out will be part of the finale. If Dream doesn't break out during the season, I think Technoblade or Ranboo currently stand as the only people who can take out the egg plot-wise. Karl's time traveling will also likely tie in heavily to the egg plot. Additionally, either Wilbur or Jschlatt returning seems likely, but that could be saved for the next season. Now this is where we enter kind of a confusing area, because it's difficult to predict plot lines for future seasons since the egg very much came out of nowhere, and that's looking to be the focus for at least a season. What I think would make sense, if there is 5 seasons seasons like I'm predicting. Season 4 might be a time travel season because of Karl, maybe even traveling through key periods of the SMP to prevent something bad from happening. And based on the clues we've seen of Ranboo being a time traveler who lost his memory because of that.
Okay, Mr. Fucking what do you expect us to do now then?
I think this hints at Ranboo at least continuing to be a key character, if not the main character, for a while. If Wilbur and Jschlatt haven't returned by now, I feel confident saying they'll be back from the dead by now. Dream would likely also try sabotaging the time travel events for whatever reason. If season 5 isn't the final season and there's only 4 seasons, I think season 4 would likely be shortened and combined with my idea for season 5 if I'm anywhere close to right. To minimize dating this video immensely, I'll stay somewhat vague about how the SMP will end. We've already decided that Dream dying would be the conclusion. I think either Tubbo or Tommy will probably die in the process of Dream dying, either in a battle or as a sacrifice. But a large battle between Dream and the rest of the server seems to be a fitting conclusion in my opinion. What might be cool is if they pull an endgame and Dream wins and kills multiple characters, only to have all the ghosts fight alongside the alive members of the server. But it's overall really difficult making predictions about something so far in the future and not taking into account any new members joining or any major plot changes along the way. But I feel when the Dream SMP ends, the focus on SMPs on YouTube will likely drop off a bit. We've had basically 3 run directly into the next one for a couple years now, and if Minecraft on YouTube begins another downfall depends very directly on if the game can be reinvented on YouTube again or not. While it may be sad to think about the Dream SMP ending, all good things must come to an end, and the Dream SMP is no different. The last thing we all want is to watch it go out quietly and be robbed of the grand finale it deserves. I'm sure I can speak for tons of us when I say the Dream SMP really was a refreshing and nice change of pace that Minecraft desperately needed on YouTube, and helped a lot of us through such a tough time during a certain lockdown. This definitely isn't the end for the creators involved, however, and I'm really excited to see what they'll do next after the SMP. But we all have to remember not to cry because it's over, but to smile because it happened. I saw this quote attributed to like 7 different people online, and I think that means it's just open for grabs, so